So welcome everyone for it's like our third Women in STEM panel. We're very excited to have all of our panelists with us today, and everyone is here to ask any questions. So as Brian was mentioning, look in the chat for the Slido link if you want to post a question. And when you go there, you'll see that there's already been a number of questions that were posted. So you can either add a new question or vote for a question that you like. And we'll go over the questions. We're not going to be able to go over all of them because I see now we have a lot, which is cool. But vote for the ones that you'd like to prioritize, because that's essentially what we're trying to go by. And by the way, my name is Emily. I'm a physics faculty here, and I'm just going to be here just to ask some of those questions, raise those questions over Slido. And Pia is also here to do that with us together. Do you want to say something real quick, Pia?
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Pia Olavolker. I'm not in STEM division. I am a library faculty. My background is humanities, but I'm a big supporter of STEM and especially women in STEM. So that's why I'm here today.
So we're going to start with an introductions of our panelists. And so so I'll just call your name and I'm going to go by who I see first on my screen. And if you can just tell us about you before we get started with some questions. So Mayra.
Hi all. So I'm Mayra, and I'm the instructional aide in the STEM Center. In there, I coordinate the peer instructional leader program, and I also tutor math and physics. And I really enjoy working with students and with tutors there. And I've been there about a year by now, a little bit less than a year. And I was before actually an instructional aide in the Learning Center, where I also tutor many students. I had the pleasure to get to know them and work with them. And I was there for about 4 years before coming as a part-time. And I did my bachelor's in San Francisco State in astrophysics. And now I'm working on my master's in aerospace engineering. I'm doing my master's project at the moment and enjoying it because it's an interesting topic to me. And I can tell you a bit about it if there's time as we go. So yeah, and I'm happy to be here to share my experiences in STEM as a woman and the struggles and happiness and, you know, whatever you want me to share with you.
Thank you so much, Mayra. So next on my screen is Susanne or Susanne.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. So in German, my name is actually pronounced Susanne. So, but it's okay. Like whatever it feels like, I go also by Susanne. So I am chemistry faculty, and I teach the Chem 220 and Chem 210 course. And before coming to Skyline, so my chemistry journey started right after my high school, essentially, and I studied chemistry at the Free University in Berlin, in Germany. And I stayed there for my diploma and my PhD. So I did my PhD in thin film growth, and then I moved on to do a couple of postdocs, and I worked in at the Helmholtz Center in Berlin and the Brookhaven National Lab, the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. And like what really, especially in my time at the Helmholtz Center at the BNL, really got me motivated in working on a project that actually had a real nice goal. So we were working towards building a new machine, and I was part of building this new machine and making an essential part for this machine. So having a big goal at the end of your research is always really motivating, and that actually kept me going quite some time. So then after that, I started teaching. So, and now I'm at Skyline, and I'm happy to be here and share my experiences. Just let the question come in.
Thank you so much, Susanne. So next I have Morelia, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. Good to see you.
Hi everyone. My name is Morelia, and I am currently a student at UC Berkeley. I'm studying math, and yeah, like I'm just like a recent transfer student, so like I literally just graduated from Skyline, like May 2020, and I'm excited to share my experience as a transfer student, coming into this pandemic at Berkeley.
All right, thank you so much. And next I have Carla.
Hi there, I'm Carla Grandy. I'm the Dean of the STEM division currently, and my background is in geology and oceanography. So I did my undergraduate in Texas in geology, environmental geology, and then I did my master's at Oregon State in oceanography, and then I did PhD at UC Santa Cruz in earth science. And the area that I study is the coastline and kind of how climate and people and the ocean and all of that stuff comes together at the coastline. So how sediment moves to it and along it. And I've done a lot of work in hydrology and water quality. I worked for the California Coastal Conservancy for a couple of years, which is a state agency that gives money for environmental restoration work. And then after I got my PhD, I started teaching. And so that was 2007. And so I've been in the community college system for 13 years now, taught for, I think, 11 years. And then I was the director of Guided Pathways last year. And then I just moved into the role of dean in June. And so when I taught geology, oceanography, climate change, environmental science, all of those courses. And at Skyline, and also at City College of San Francisco, where I was previously, I supervised and was the mentor for all of the sustainability work that's done on campus. So that's my area, and excited to be here.
Thank you so much. And we're very excited to have you here too. So last but not least, Beatriz.
Hi everyone, I'm Beatriz Qura. So I am a respiratory care practitioner. I graduated in 2005 from Skyline College, and I have been working for 15 years at Palo Alto VA. And recently in August, I took the position as faculty coordinator for the Bachelor's in Science in Respiratory Care. So I'm very happy to be part of the Skyline College community. I enjoy working with the students. I also teach the AS in respiratory care students, and I find them really very nice, very eager to learn. They are just different from the BS students. They're actually in this stage where, like sponges, they want to absorb everything they could learn in their first semester. So before I became a respiratory therapist, I came from Lima, Peru, and I studied my higher education at CSM, and then I transferred to Cal State East Bay for my degree in biology. I worked for just a short period of time at a hematology lab, and then I developed a lot of interest in patient care, healthcare. That's how I entered the respiratory care program at Skyline College. So, I'm here to answer any questions related to healthcare, and as immigrant coming when I was about 20 years old, starting almost from the beginning, is something that I could actually mentor to female immigrants or males too, who need some guidance and encourage to keep going. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so we have our 5 panelists here with us, and so we're gonna get ready to ask the first question. I just want to remind you that if you do want to participate and answer and answer some questions, you can go to the Slido link that is in the chat if you just joined us. And if you don't have a question but you want to vote for one, you can go and like the questions that you want to go at the top of the list. So I'm going to let Pia go ahead and ask our first question to our panelists.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you for those wonderful introductions. So as I think Emily explained, we're going to ask questions that are most voted upon. And so I'm looking at 2 questions, and the most voted upon questions, and they look very similar to me, so I'm going to kind of combine those, and I'm happy to repeat if you need me to. And I'm going to start with Carla. What are some ways that STEM faculty, administrators, and non-academic professional workers can advance the cause of gender equity in our society? And it's connected with how should the teaching and practice of STEM be adapted to better address the issue of gender equity? So it's
Okay, I'll jump right in there with the like the biggest question. I read that one and I was like, wow, that's a really good question. And I wish I had the answer. So I think I've been thinking through this as I've been sitting here. And I think that there's like one, it is a really big question. And I don't think any of us, maybe somebody does, hopefully somebody does, have the answer. But I think that there's a lot of little things that we can do. I think a lot of it is around helping people to feel connected to STEM and also to feel connected to the people who are already in STEM. So if you see people, I think helping people to understand, especially when they don't see themselves as STEM people. A lot of people have been told that they're not STEM people. So helping them to see the things that they do in their daily lives that are connected to STEM, the math they're experiencing in their daily lives, or, whatever issues are going on, the connections to STEM. I think a big part of it is also like for those of us who teach or are interacting with students or young people in general, just being able to reach out and mentor people. If if a faculty member sees someone in their class, or if we meet someone, just letting them know the strengths that you see in them, and kind of helping them to see how that connects to a field in STEM and to understand the different opportunities in STEM. I think one of the things, and this is a huge generalization, but some of the differences between the way that men and women communicate. Men have a tendency to communicate in a more confident way and to express themselves as if they know what's going on and not be afraid if they don't know what's going on. And I think women have a tendency to focus on like they don't know a piece of it, and so they don't feel confident speaking up. And so I think helping women in particular to see like, oh no, you do get that, you do understand that, and helping to build that confidence and point out people's strengths, I think not just in STEM, but in any area, can really help to build confidence and to help them feel the connections. And then also not just when we have the opportunities to bring people into projects or to, to work with people, maybe not always choosing the person who is the most outspoken, but identifying somebody else who, maybe isn't as confident in the way that they're acting, but seems interested and engaged, and trying to incorporate them into that. I think that has the potential to expand the people who we're having in STEM, in our kind of STEM circles. So those are my initial thoughts on that.
So my opinion about it is, like Carla said, it's a big question, and there are many ways. that people could, or students could get interested in science. From my experience, when I was little, I had a wonderful biology professor at my high school, and I got very interested in biology. So when I came to this country, I also had a wonderful professor. She's a doctor in biology. So she got me really, like Carla said, she told me that I could do it, that I was really good at it during the lab, and especially microbiology. So that really woke my interest, and that's how I took a lot of biology classes. I ended up transferring to Cal State, and it was just the inspiration that I got from my professors back home in my country and at College of San Mateo. They really supported me, and even now I sometimes think about biology. It's so fascinating, and biotechnology. I really got into pharmaceuticals, and now than ever with these pandemics. It feels like our students could get more interested in contemplating the field of virology, microbiology, to come up with drugs or medications, antivirals to help humanity during these tough times.
I think I'm in line with Carla and Beatriz said. So I think making connections to see that STEM is not just a field like you study, but that is actually connecting to all around us is a huge factor, I think, to stay in STEM and study it. But but is what I see oftentimes when I'm talking to my students, and why many give up, is that they're there and saying like STEM is hard, like this is I cannot do it. But rather than as a teacher focusing on showing them how far they come and focusing on a growth mindset, like, see, you cannot do that yet, but, and then to keep them in the field and taking them along on where they are. I think at least this semester, clearly I kept my students motivated like this many times. So really focusing on a growth mindset, making connections to their lives really helps a lot.
So I think that I have little to add to all the wonderful things and ideas that Susanne, Carla, and Beatriz have brought up. But one thing that I think helps also, it's giving examples of how, having a career can make a big difference in your life. It can really make a big impact. And so as I was growing up, of course, it helped me that the women in my family, even though they didn't have an education, they did, talk to me about the importance of having a career. And that really, I think, made a difference in my wish to keep going with school, because I knew that it was gonna help me, getting a better life, feeling happier, doing what I like, and getting more money as you go and living more comfortable. So that's something that I think will help also, adding to all what they say, and really remind students that the struggles they're going through, and having to study until late times, and not sleeping enough and all that, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. And I sometimes just give them examples about my own life, how it's been a struggle in many senses. And now that I'm about, to graduate and I have a full-time job, it's really nice to have everything I need, and more, even much more than what I need, and living comfortable and being happy with what I do. I think that's my contribution to the conversation.
So I definitely, I liked what Susanne said and what Mayra said. I feel like having a really good support system really does help a student like kind of motivate themselves and to kind of like pursue like a STEM career. And also like I feel that there's definitely a lack of representation, I feel like, for me. Like I would definitely like to see more like images of women teaching, of women just like taking over like these powerful roles. And I feel like I don't really see that a lot. And just like, you know, like I really like that we're having this conversation. Even like us having a panel really does help, because it clearly shows that a lot of students are interested. Just yeah, I just feel like maybe like just having a representation for sure. And just showing that, like, you know, because like we're all here together. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I think everybody got to answer, right?
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next question, and I think I'm gonna also group two questions together, because we have, I think, a couple of questions that kind of go well together and that have been getting lots of votes. So I'm gonna post to the chat, so if you want to take, you can read the question, but I will also read them out loud. And if you also want to, you know, focus on one part of the question more than another, feel free to do so. So the question is, so would you say there is a high standard when it comes to performance working in STEM? How do you persevere through low confidence if it does happen sometimes? And then I'm going to group that with another question, which was, what is one advice you would give to other students who are interested in the same educational or career path? And let's start with Susanne, if that's okay.
All right. So about high standard when it comes to performance, for sure. And that is, I like a high standard in terms of performance. I think this is true for any job. Like if you want to do a job well, you have to have a high performance in it, and you have to put yourself into it. So that is, I think you cannot be well in a job if you do it half-baked. So I hope that answered that, and this is not different for STEM. Persevere through low confidence. I think like this is a big one, and how do you say that? Like when I finished my PhD, I didn't feel very confident in, like, I finished my PhD and I was happy about it, but I was like, oh my God, what's next? And it was more that anxiety, because I felt like I worked on such a small field and I couldn't see myself in a bigger field. So, and it's just like talking to people about how you feel and building a network, and just talking really helps to grow confidence, because then you feel like where you are, and that really helps. And keep on breathing, that helps too in any low confidence situation. And then what advice? A big advice I would give anyone is to start networking early. Like if you want to build a career in STEM, is start networking early, start doing internships, like try things out to build your network, because it will be beneficial when you then actually start jumping into a role and want to start working actually.
This question is a lot. But so okay. I feel like working in the STEM field, I mean, it is definitely high standard, because like, I don't know, like I've been looking around LinkedIn a lot, and like I just feel a lot of positions are opening, and a lot like are saying like, hey, like come work for us, come. Because like for me, like as a student at UC Berkeley, like there's an app called Handshake, and like I've been getting a lot of job offers lately, just like for internships, because they see the experience that I have had from Skyline College and the stuff that I've done at community college. So I definitely say that, like, showing that you have experience, even not within your field, because I'm a math major, I don't have anything within my field though, but like it, like I do have a lot of things that like that shows that I do have interest. But even then, like when, and the question that says like the low confidence, like if I ever feel that way, of course I feel that way. Like I don't see a lot of women in my math classes. Like I literally scroll down the participants list and there's like less than half of us there. And in my classrooms there's about like 380 students, 280 students. And like me being like Mexican American, like there's even a less like group of us within these classes too. So just showing that like there aren't a lot of like me in this field, it just motivates me even more to keep continue what I'm doing, because then I can even talk to some other students and like kind of like help push them to be in the STEM field, and that like, you know, even if it's really hard, you can still do it. Because like I also I don't know, this like getting into Berkeley, like it's definitely a lot though, but like I got in with a 3.14 GPA, and you know, I feel like even with my GPA wasn't so strong, I feel like showing that like I am interested and that like I do have a lot of leadership skills, I feel like that's what helped me get into the school. But I just feel like maybe showing that you're interested in it for sure, and sharing your experience as to why you're interested in it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So high standards. I guess you mean competitive. I might be wrong, but I think that this is just sort of like an organic happening when you have the passion for what you're doing. So organically, you're gonna be competitive if you're passionate about the field you're in. So make sure that you like what you're doing, because that will put you up there to go to in a good place to compete with others. Yeah, unfortunately, most people in the STEM field are very competitive. But if you like what you're doing, you don't mind, and you work really hard on it, and not because you have to sacrifice yourself, but because you like it. I missed on telling you a little bit about the opportunities I have during my bachelor's degree, when I was doing my bachelor's degree. And it was very competitive. Of course, most of the students in my classes were men, especially the upper level astrophysics classes. And in my Big Bang Theory class, my professor invited me to do research, to start doing research with him. And when I did start it, it was just, I just was fascinated by dark matter at the moment. And I was just really interested in doing the research we were doing. No matter what it was just interesting to me. And so from there, because I was passionate about it, he told me, you know what, I want to sponsor you to go to an internship in the Space Science Lab in Berkeley. And I said, okay. And I just went there. I applied, I got there. And again, I was fascinated by the experiment we were doing. It was a still direct detection of dark matter. And we built this machine. And as Susanne said, it was fascinating because you are seeing that becoming real, right? This big thing that you have in your head and that they tell you it's going to happen, it becomes real. And so that really helps. Those opportunities really help you, like getting through that, persevere, to get perseverant about what you're doing, to persevere, to get over the insecurity you might have, because you see yourself actually doing stuff. You can see that you are capable to do it. But again, if you enjoy it, you just don't see it happening. You just see the full picture, right? You just get into it, dive into it, and get it done. And so all this happened to me just organically. It happened like, it just happened, you know? And one thing that helped me a lot with insecurity, because of course, I came from Mexico as a young adult. And so I didn't speak any English. I was super insecure at the time. I came to Skyland to learn the language, and I never thought myself an astrophysicist. Now, I never ever thought I was gonna get there. But guess what? I took math classes. I was really good at it. My professors were really happy with me. I kept going just because of the adventure of doing it. And all in a sudden, I was in San Francisco State University doing astronomy. But what happened, I was really good at physics and I really liked it. And I became part of the astrophysics program there. And then I graduated. And so I did research for 3 years. And my last research project after the Space Science Lab in Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, it was even more of a blaster. Sorry, I'm talking too much, but I think that this question is very related to this. When I got to Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory, I was working with one of the fathers of the quarks, one of the elementary particles that make electrons and protons. So I was working with him hand by hand, day by day, and here we are. There was such a strong connection. Sometimes we just saying a couple of words, we understood each other. And I knew I was in my place at that time. And I learned so much from them. And let me tell you about insecurity. If you feel insecure, I met 2 Nobel Prizes without even know they were Nobel Prizes because of how humble they were. And guess what? They will get shy about answering questions because they knew they didn't always have the answer. They asked questions themselves and they had their offices all full of books because they forget stuff, we all forget stuff, and they needed to look at the books to look for answers, for reminders of what they study. So I hope that this comes to a clear message to you that you're gonna feel insecure. I did all the time as a woman in STEM and as a Mexican girl who didn't speak English. And I still struggle to be fluent especially when I'm in these presentations. And I was feeling insecure all the time. And I came to find out that the Nobel Prizes in Lawrence Berkeley were nothing compared with competitive, like there was no competitive in them. There was no, ooh, I know it all at all. So that's in the real life. Real scientists are not as competitive as you will think. They just try to work with you in group because they know that teamwork is what makes it happen.
So high standards when it comes to STEM performance, from my experience as a healthcare provider, I see not only respiratory care practitioners, but also nurses, physician assistants, physical therapists. They do have, to study really hard, and some of them need to get to a certain GPA. So I would think there is a higher standards for certain professions in the healthcare. And the level of confidence, I would think, like every human being, they build up their confidence slowly as they work and they become very competent doing a certain procedure or during patient care. They develop confidence, and the more they do it, the better they become, and the better they feel about it. Also, teaching, being a preceptor, precepting students coming to practice at the hospital sites helps a lot with the confidence of the therapist or the nurse. In my case, for instance, after I graduated from Skyline College and started working at the VA in Palo Alto, a couple of years later, I became a preceptor. So I was teaching students rotating from Foothill College, and then my supervisor assigned me to train new nurses in ICU, in intensive care unit, doing kind of high-risk procedures. So that's how I developed my confidence. But always at the end of the day, I have these shaky times when I have an emergency. I have a surgeon next to me. He tells me, do this, change this. Do you think that this will work? And I feel like I want you know, I become really warm and I'm feeling, oh my God, this is so stressful because we have lives in our hands. But as I kind of relax and say to myself, I can do this, I can do this, I know how to do it, I just need to take a little steps. At the end of my shift, I really feel like I did it, and it builds my confidence, you know, step by step. So, and of course, perseverance in your profession. There are days where we have stress. There are other days that are more like easygoing. But perseverance is very important, not only in healthcare, but in other science professions, of course. We need to persevere because we deal with a lot of stress. And I would actually recommend people who like to start in the healthcare to learn how to control their you know, feelings, emotions, like Emily during the academy development. Was it a professional development day? She gave a class on meditation before. Remember, Emily?
Yes.
Yeah, I found it really, really helpful. And I thought I should be doing this when I have to work in intensive care, you know, because it really helps. So yeah, that's what I think. And I'm here to, you know, advise any students who is interested in healthcare. Thank you.
So I'll keep it brief because I think the other panelists have already shared some really good advice. But I think the one thing that I would say about high standards in STEM is that I think one of the things that is comforting to me is that the way that we learn things in STEM and in other fields as well, but is by making mistakes. And so you have to be willing to try new things, to kind of go out on a limb and know that a lot of the time you're going to get it wrong. And then eventually you're going to get it right and people are going to learn something. And so somehow to me, that's comforting because there's usually not a right answer. It's a lot of trial and error and going through different iterations of things before we figure it out. So that's one piece. In terms of low confidence, I think that that's an issue for all of us at one time or another. And it was just really recently in my career that I kind of realized that everybody has imposter syndrome. And that also made me feel better. Everybody, all of my colleagues at every different level has expressed, for the most part, feeling like they don't belong or like they're the only one in the room who doesn't understand what's going on. And so just knowing that we all go through that, and that if it's just again, a point of iteration and like getting better and understanding it better each time you do it, is really what's important. And then the last thing, in terms of advice for STEM careers, I second what Susanne said about networking and reaching out to people. One of the things that I always tell students is if you take on any opportunity you can. I did lots of internships throughout the years that weren't exactly what I wanted, but I got some experience and I got to meet people. And if nothing else, I learned what I didn't want to do. And so any experience is a good experience, and especially getting to know people, and then you can talk to them about what they do, and it kind of helps you to hone in on what you ultimately want to do. So I just say take on any opportunity that comes your way. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we've been talking about performance and high standards. The next question is might be a little personal, but I think it's interesting. So that is, what do you think you did that helped you stand out when it came to applying for programs or schools, especially STEM related?
When applying for schools, I think what really helped me stand out was that I was really involved with my community college, Skyline. I was a part of ASSC, I was a senator, I was the president for the Latin American Student Organization, also known as LASO. I was also part of WISER, Women in Science and Engineering Represent. I was also a part of the engineering and tech scholars. I was just running around everywhere. Like, I just, like, oh, yes, sorry. And I'm also part of the STEM Center Peer Mentor program too. Yeah, I think for me, like, I wanted to be a part of leadership, but I also wanted to show that I was also really like interested in my major. Interested in leadership because I am Mexican American. There's not a lot of us like studying. I mean, now there's like a lot of us that are now currently like, you know, pursuing their education, but before there wasn't really a lot of us at the time. So I just kind of like wanted to voice like my thoughts and to show that like we are capable of being in a space here. And also, like, although I didn't have a high GPA, I think that showing that like I was interested in like not just like within my community, but also like just in the STEM field in general. So even though you don't have a high GPA, I think that showing that you are interested in showing that like you're talking to your professors, showing that you're talking to people and having that support system, it helps a lot. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Well, long time ago, when I applied for to transfer to my higher degree education and get my biology degree, I had to take a lot of classes like calculus, pre-calculus, all the chemistries to 10 to 20. So I wanted to get, of course, good grades, and I was just working so hard on it. You know, I had to take maybe 2 hard classes per semester. Other than that, I couldn't, more than that, I couldn't take because I was also working. So I would recommend for those students who have to work part-time and take very tough classes in order to transfer to their higher degree institutions to, perhaps, of course, go to look for scholarships and financial aid, and try to get 3 classes per semester to move on, and so they don't have to stay for so long at the community college. And also enjoy your classes, your science classes. Like, I enjoyed my calculus classes. I don't remember much about anymore, but I did enjoy it, and I put a lot of enthusiasm on it. Since it was a tough class and very, to a certain degree, very abstract to me, I just kind of got inspired again by my professor. And I kind of connected to my professor in a way that every time I went to my calculus classes, I would just feel in a way, I don't know, kind of a relative lecturing the class. And that kind of made me closer to my professor. And I just love to sit there and listen to his class and do my homework, even though it was so tough, and sometimes it would take 3 hours. But I did it, and science is not easy for people who like science, but sometimes it doesn't stay or doesn't come through easily. So I think just put a passion to it and find a way to connect something, that will give you pleasure. Like calculus with the professor, very nice professor, and in that class make me feel like I was, going through a great time. And research shows that when one learns with good emotions, good feelings, the information stays, in your brain. It gets there. It consolidates. So that's one of my advices.
So I haven't been like the the question is applying for programs or schools. Like in Germany, it's a bit different. Like you don't really apply for schools. You enroll in a school and usually you get a space, especially in STEM. So it's like there's no, that applying part doesn't apply there. But maybe, so where it comes to whether you get a space or not, is the first time you're faced with that, especially in Germany, is when you are going to do your PhD work then, because you have to find a group and they essentially have to hire you for your PhD work. And I think what helped me there was that I had a strong work ethic. And so for my PhD, I stayed in the group where I did my diploma. So I was very interested in the field. I had a strong work ethic. And I think that just conveyed to my professor, okay, we'll keep you. So, and I think that also helped me like further on. So having a strong work ethic, being invested in your work is definitely something which will get you far, I would say.
So for school, about getting into programs, I will actually focus on getting internships because that's what really helped me in my career. I'm not sure if the question is about internships too. For my schools, I will say though that one thing that helped me a lot was my GPA. I was very grateful to have done very good at college, so it wasn't a problem for me just to apply for San Francisco State University and just get in. And unfortunately, I couldn't pick my school because at the time I didn't have many choices because I had to be taking care of my mother. And so she needed a lot of care, a lot of attention at the time. So I needed to find a university that was very close to my house so I could go and take my classes and immediately come back and take care of her. But for San Francisco State University, that helped me a lot. My GPA, I'm not saying that it's the only thing. Actually, I don't think that GPA is the most important thing at all. It's just what helped me. One thing that also helped me, and the same thing for San Jose State University, which is where I'm at right now. I was also, again, fortunate to have a good GPA out of my astrophysics degree. And so I just automatically went to San Jose State University. But the tricky part is getting internships, right? Especially in laboratories, in like national laboratories and prestigious labs. And one thing that really helped me was I was with the mindset that I needed to make it fair for myself. I did tell them about my struggles. I had to work full time at college to pay for my college and help my mother at the same time. And I was doing full time in both work and school. Then when I was going to my bachelor school, I had to take care of my mother, very intense care. And so all those things I make sure to put in my application because I needed to tell them that even though some people had more experience, or I don't know, they perform better, or they were coming from better schools or universities, I was dealing with all these. And so that puts me at the level of competition of these people. And so I know that many of you are struggling with so many things. I do know because many of us that go to community colleges is the life that we live. And so make sure that you let whoever is reading your personal statement know that it's not only your GPA or how you did at school or the things that you did, but also the struggles that make you the strong person and candidate that you are. And so it's a combination of everything. So even if you don't have a good GPA, you are living through many things that many other people are not, who get better GPAs because they don't have to deal with all these, right? And so I think that's my something that I will add to all the great ideas that the other panelists have, add as of now. And just make sure to make it fair for yourself and tell them about your struggles and the things that you've done well, right? The things that make you a strong person.
So I think one of the things in terms of standing out, like I said before, taking on every opportunity that you can, varied opportunities. I think when I was applying to programs, that really helped me out, that I had a lot of different experiences, and I could talk about those. The other thing that I will say that I know has helped me in the various programs and positions that I've applied for is just reaching out to whoever is in charge of making the decision and letting them get to know me and letting them know that I'm really genuinely interested in the position and kind of getting to know them a little bit throughout the process. I think that has really worked well for me in the past.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So where I'm looking at the clock, we have 3 minutes left. So I think we wanted to keep some time to have also an opportunity to share, everybody's experience who's here. There was a question that was highly voted, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually post that in the chat. I also want to give you all an option so I'm going to read the question, but I'm just wanted to let you know that we're running out of time, but I think it's an important one and it seemed to really have a lot of interest. So the question is, have you felt like you need to choose between starting a family or your career by delaying having kids till after you completed a higher education in STEM? And maybe it's not something that applies to you all, but maybe Carla, if you want to say something about this.
Sure. So I will say that I did wait to have kids until after I was out of school, but I waited like a year. So I had my daughter, who's sitting right behind me right now, 1 year after I graduated from grad school and my first year of teaching, which was kind of a crazy idea. But the one thing that I will say about that, okay, I'll say two things about that. One is that I went to grad school with several people who had kids in grad school, and it worked out well for them. The other thing that I will say is that becoming a parent has made me extremely efficient. Where I used to, spend longer working on things, now I am super efficient and I can get an amazing amount of things done in a short period of time. And it's kind of my specialty, juggling kids and work and all the things. So I definitely think that it is way more doable now than it might have been in the past. And one of the other things that I do is I tell people if I can't do something because I need to pick up my kids, I tell people that because I want people to understand that there needs to be balance and that it's not okay to treat people differently because they do or don't have kids. So that's my own political statement on that.
That's awesome. Thank you. Did anyone else on the panel want to address that question? Susanne, go ahead.
Yeah, just because my experience is a little bit not different, but it's like I have two kids. I had my first when I wrote my diploma thesis, and my second while I was doing my PhD. So definitely having kids, like in any kind of life situation, makes you more efficient. And I second that color. Is like you prioritize differently. And it's also, I think what made me realize having a family and a career is that you want to work with people who understand that and appreciate that. And choosing your work environment around this is really healthy.
Thanks.
So I didn't have to choose because we had them in Germany and we have daycare, so which is affordable, yeah, very affordable.
I agree. Being French and yeah, it's a big difference here sometimes. So it is 5:31. So I know we have to stop, but I don't know if anyone on the panel can stay. If anybody in the audience wanted to maybe address anything that we've talked about and share their own experience, or you can also do that in the chat. And I just really want to, before anyone goes, really thank everybody on the panel today, because I know I've been on the other side. I know, Carla, we switched sides this time, and it can be vulnerable and it can get personal. And so thank you all so much for sharing your stories. And I think it's really good for everyone here to hear all of the things all your advice and the things that you've been through. And it's very real. And so thank you so much.